In the heart of New Orleans' French Quarter stands a building as beautiful as it is infamous. The Lalaurie Mansion, its grand façade and wrought iron balconies catching the eye of every passerby, seems like a relic of elegance from the 1800s. But behind its graceful exterior lies one of the darkest chapters in American history. The year was 1832 when Madame Delphine Lalaurie, a socialite of high status, moved into this three-story mansion with her third husband. To the outside world, she was the picture of Southern refinement. But whispers of cruelty began to swirl almost as soon as she arrived. Servants vanished without a trace. Neighbors reported screams in the night, agonizing, blood-curdling cries that pierced the silence of Royal Street. The mansion held secrets, and soon, the city would uncover horrors beyond imagination. Rumors began to creep through New Orleans like a rising mist, servants disappearing overnight, muffled cries echoing from within the mansion's thick walls. Some neighbors claimed to see terrified figures peeking from behind the upper windows, quickly vanishing when spotted. In the market, slaves brought by the Lalauries appeared gaunt, bruised, and eerily silent. Stories spread of Madame Lalaurie's cruelty, how she chained servants to stoves, whipped them for the smallest errors, or starved them as punishment. But these were only whispers. No one dared confront a woman of her wealth and status. Still, those who passed by the mansion at night often quickened their pace, clutching rosaries and avoiding the windows. Something evil was hiding in that house. And the walls, those heavy, time-worn walls, seemed to remember every scream. On a warm April morning in 1834, smoke began rising from the Lalaurie Mansion. Flames burst from the kitchen windows, drawing crowds of frantic onlookers. Firefighters rushed inside to find the source, but what they uncovered was far worse than the fire. In the attic, they discovered a scene so grotesque it would sear itself into the memory of New Orleans forever. 7 enslaved people were found shackled, some with limbs broken and reset at unnatural angles, others with mouths sewn shut. One man had been locked in a cage for so long, his body had fused to its shape. It wasn't just cruelty. It was torture. Delphine Lalaurie, the elegant hostess of high society balls, had been conducting a reign of terror behind closed doors. The fire revealed the house's true nature, and the city recoiled in horror. As the fire raged and the truth came to light, word of the unspeakable horrors inside the Lalaurie Mansion spread like wildfire. An enraged mob gathered, demanding justice. They shattered windows, tore down doors, and stormed the mansion, only to find that Madame Lalaurie had vanished. Under the cover of night, she had fled the city in a horse-drawn carriage, her face concealed beneath a black veil. Some say she bribed her way out. Others believe she had help from powerful friends. What's certain is this: Delphine Lalaurie escaped justice. Rumors placed her in Paris, living comfortably, untouched by the nightmare she left behind. The city of New Orleans, however, would never forget her crimes. And the mansion, now empty, would remain a haunting symbol of the evil she brought into the world. In the aftermath of Madame Lalaurie's flight, the once elegant mansion fell silent. Its walls, scarred by fire and fury, became a tomb for the memories of suffering. No one dared to move in. The townspeople believed the very structure had absorbed the evil acts within it. The mansion sat vacant for years, rotting from the inside, its rooms choked with soot and silence. Passers-by whispered of ghostly figures watching from the broken windows, of cold winds curling through the alley even in summer. Children crossed the street rather than walk past it. Something had been awakened inside, something that did not leave when Delphine did. It stayed. It watched. It waited. And so the Lalaurie Mansion began its new life, not as a grand estate, but as a cursed place, too haunted to forget. Decades passed, and brave, or perhaps foolish, souls eventually took up residence in the mansion. But peace was never part of the deal. Tenants reported phantom footsteps pacing above their heads, even when the attic was empty. Doors slammed with no breeze, and whispers floated through the halls in the dead of night. One man claimed he was pinned to his bed by invisible hands. Others spoke of sudden cold spots and the overwhelming feeling of being watched, especially in the upper rooms where the tortured once suffered. The most terrifying reports came from those who glimpsed her, Delphine. A pale woman in old-fashioned garb, drifting silently through the halls, her face twisted in rage. Whether spirit or memory, her presence had never left. The Lalaurie Mansion was no longer just haunted, it was alive with anguish. Years turned into decades, and yet the house refused to relinquish its dark hold. Those who came to explore or buy the property were met with more than just a rundown building. Paranormal investigators began to take an interest in the mansion, drawn to its grim reputation. Their cameras caught unexplained flashes of light, and their recordings picked up strange voices, murmurs that seemed to call for help, and others that cursed those who dared come too close. Some claimed they could feel the bitter, oppressive energy of the house grow heavier with each visit. No one ever stayed long. The mansion had become an icon of terror, a place where the past's suffering bled into the present. Even though the Lalaurie family had long since vanished, the curse of the mansion remained, an eerie reminder that some sins never go unpunished. As the years passed, the Lalaurie Mansion became one of New Orleans' most notorious landmarks, drawing curious tourists from around the world. To some, it was just a historical site, a place to snap a picture and move on. But to others, it was a place where the past still haunted the present. Some visitors felt a cold chill upon entering the gate, or reported being overcome with nausea as they stood too close to the mansion's crumbling walls. Guides who led tours often spoke of strange occurrences, like sudden temperature drops or whispers carried by the wind. One tourist swore they saw a shadowy figure watching from the second-floor window, a woman with a veil, but no visible face. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth, had now become an enduring reminder of the horrors buried beneath its beautiful exterior. Even after the mansion became a known tourist attraction, it's the whispers that still haunt those who dare visit at night. Witnesses claim to hear faint voices coming from the walls themselves, as if the house is alive with the memories of its tortured past. Some say it's the cries of the slaves who suffered at Madame Delaurie's hands, others believe it's the anguished spirit of the mansion's cruel mistress, still trapped within the house she once called home. The voices aren't just faint murmurs, they're guttural, desperate sounds that seem to reach out for help, even from beyond the grave. Locals tell stories of hearing these whispers on quiet nights, when the streets are empty and the only sound is the wind. A reminder that in the Lalaurie Mansion, some voices refuse to be silenced and the past will never truly let go. Of all the apparitions seen within the mansion, none are more infamous than the woman on the stairs. Dozens of accounts speak of a female figure descending slowly in the dead of night, her dress brushing the steps, her features eerily blank. Some claim she appears when the clock strikes 3, others say she emerges only on stormy nights. Tour guides have abruptly ended their routes after glimpsing her in the corner of their eye. One former caretaker even reported being shoved by an invisible force on the staircase, only to look up and see her staring down, motionless and silent. Whether she is Delphine Lalaurie herself, or one of her countless victims, no one knows for sure. But one thing is certain, once you see the woman on the stairs, you never forget her. The stairs creak with memories, and maybe with something else entirely. Hidden behind the upper floors lies a room that no one dares to open. Some say it's where the most terrible atrocities occurred, where Madame Lalaurie imprisoned those she tortured for weeks without mercy. After the fire, the room was reportedly sealed shut, yet inexplicable noises still echo from within. Knocking. Whispers. Soft, dragging footsteps. Paranormal investigators have tried to enter, but the air around it grows colder, heavier, the closer you get. Some have described a sharp sense of dread just standing near the door, as though something on the other side is aware. A force that has not rested. A presence that refuses to be forgotten. What lies behind the locked room remains one of the mansion's deepest mysteries. And perhaps it's better that way, because some doors were never meant to be opened. Inside the Lalaurie Mansion, the shadows play tricks not only on the eyes, but on the mind. Visitors and caretakers alike have reported figures that shouldn't be there, shadows that slither along walls, cross doorways, and sometimes stop and turn. These aren't flickers from passing lights or tricks of the mind. They move with purpose. With intent. One guest described feeling frozen, unable to speak, as a tall, human-shaped shadow moved across the room, pausing for a moment, as if studying him, before vanishing into the wall. Others have said the shadows follow them down the corridor, disappearing the moment they look back. It's as if the mansion is watching, through eyes that don't need light. Through shadows that never belong. And in the Lalaurie Mansion, even the darkness has a memory. Deep beneath the mansion, in the crumbling, damp basement, visitors have reported something far more disturbing than creaking floors or flickering lights. They hear crying. Not loud wails, but soft, pitiful sobs. The sound of a child, they say, though no one is ever there. Investigators have captured audio of what sounds like chains dragging, followed by a low, mournful voice whispering in French. Some believe it's the spirit of a young servant girl who was said to have fallen, some say jumped, from the rooftop in fear of Madame Lalaurie. Others think it's one of many victims once shackled below, their presence forever soaked into the stone. One thing is certain, the crying comes from nowhere, yet echoes through every wall. And the moment you try to follow it, the sound disappears, leaving behind only silence, and the overwhelming sense that someone is still watching you in the dark. Tucked in one of the upper rooms of the mansion hangs a mirror unlike any other. Its glass, worn with age, doesn't always reflect what's really there. Some who've dared to stare into it claim to see fleeting images from the past, ghostly dinner parties, shadowy figures in tattered clothes, or even a pale woman with a cold, cruel smile appearing behind them. Tour guides have refused to enter the room after guests screamed, insisting they saw someone inside the mirror move, though no one stood behind them. Paranormal experts believe the mirror holds a spiritual imprint of past horrors, acting as a window into moments that refuse to fade. Others believe it's a trap, a cursed object meant to reveal what you fear most. And once you've seen it, they say, the images begin to follow you, even after you've left the room. Today, the Lalaurie Mansion stands as a grim monument in the heart of New Orleans. Beautiful on the outside, but forever haunted within. Though it's privately owned and closed to public tours, the stories haven't stopped. Locals still walk past with lowered voices. Tourists gather to take photos but rarely linger. Some claim to hear footsteps on the upper floors. Others say the windows flicker with light when no one's inside. And while no one has lived there for long in decades, the house never truly feels empty. It's more than a building, it's a memory. A wound in the city's history that refuses to heal. And as long as its walls stand, so will the spirits trapped inside. Thank you for watching. If this story chilled you to the bone, subscribe to Only True Horror for more terrifying tales based on real events. The source of this haunting story is linked in the description below. And remember, some stories are only too true.